Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. We've got many people who are probably still trying to log in, but that's okay. They can catch up when they get here. I don't want to keep those of you who are already here hold you up any longer. So thanks so much for being here. Welcome to our second live stream webinar in our Connection, Confidence, Commitment series. I'm Katie Schatz, the CEO at MAR, and I'm so excited to have you guys here and to be with you. I can feel your presence, and it's nice to know that we're together today, so thank you. Before I introduce you to our panel, there are some housekeeping items that I wanted to share. So for better streaming, it works best if you close any windows that might be open in your internet browser, and even close email or anything else you might have up. That'll kind of keep the speed of things up and reduce any buffering. We have muted all of the attendees to avoid any background noise, and we can't see or hear you. So if you have a question, please use the Q&A feature. It's located on the bottom of the screen. If you kind of hover over the bottom of your screen, there'll be a toolbar that pops up, and you can click on the Q&A. It's like a double talk bubble icon. So please use that if you have a question. You can also access the chat feature to talk to each other and other attendees and the panelists by clicking on that talk bubble icon when you hover over your cursor at the bottom of the screen. So I want to introduce you to our panelists. Let me pull this up. We practiced this, and I knew it would be, I knew I would mess it up, and here I go. But that's okay, we're not perfect. Like I said, this is part of our webinar series. So every Thursday at 10 a.m., we're doing webinars, and these are completely free, of course, to attend. Our one last week was on kind of residential real estate and what's going on in that world. And this one's a little more about commercial and what's going on for our commercial brokers right now. Next week, we'll be talking with our affiliate business partners about how business is for them in all of their different fields, and also kind of things that they're doing to support you guys. So we'll have links in the weekly Realtor and mar.org and our social media for you guys to register for those. So our panelists today, Catherine Garland, who's our president of MAR this year, is with Garland Company Real Estate, and she's going to be the moderator today. And Kathy Anderson is with Crylite Commercial. Eric Furman is also with Crylite Commercial. Luke Jensen is with Commercial Advisors, and he's our 2020 Commercial Council President this year. And then we also have Bob Turner, who's with Southern Properties Real Estate. I also want to give a little attention to our sponsors. There's so many things that they do for us, and we can't do all of this without them. So we want to give them a little spotlight time. Our premier sponsors for MAR this year are Pinnacle Financial Partners and Redeemers Group. And our preferred sponsors are Independent Bank Mortgage and Lofton Wells Insurance. And then we also want to give a little airtime to the Commercial Council sponsors. They have people who sponsor them throughout the year and help them with all of the events that they do. So their kind of gold sponsors are Crexie and Valbridge Property Advisors. And then we also have Financial Federal, Evans Petrie, Hillwood, and A2H Engineers, Architects, Planners. Some more of their awesome sponsors and partners. And then a few of the chapters that support them as well, CCIM, IREM, and SIOR. So thank you so much to all of them for their support. I know that Luke and his team especially really appreciate all of their support. So thank you for that. And let's see. Yeah, so that's all I had. I'm going to go ahead and toss it to Catherine and let her take it from here.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I really appreciate it. We, like Katie said, we can see the chat going, and I'll be watching the Q&A if you have any questions as we go along. So how's everybody doing?
Hey, doing great.
Good. I know that when I'm particularly on Zoom, I tend to touch my face a lot, which is something that we're not supposed to do. So I can become hyper aware of the fact that I'm doing like this while we're talking. So that'll be my main focus of the day to make sure I'm not constantly touching my face. But again, I really appreciate all of you being here. We have a lot of ground to cover, so we'll go ahead and get started. So first off, how have you changed your business strategy since this started? Are you working in the field, staying at home?
Well, I mean, I'll start. I started out in the office and stayed and just, did my thing. But with a lot of pressure, I think, from my own family members, and I have a son who's a paramedic, so I got a lot there. And being from New Orleans, I've got family over there that's been in lockdown 6 weeks longer than we have, so I felt like I would do more my part just in case I was a carrier to shift my office to home. So I've been doing that and trying to be a good citizen there. And it doesn't mean I haven't gone out to do things, but I'm really just trying to abide by the social distancing the best I can.
Anyone else? Bob?
Going.
Yeah.
I've been at the office the whole time. I'm the only one in here besides Tucker, who's laying under the desk right now. So I don't have to worry about catching corona from him. But
Yeah.
we've pretty much stayed the same. We're running operations in Mississippi and Arkansas and Tennessee, and so I'm on the road, and all my guys are still working, and so pretty much the same.
All right, Eric.
For me, touching the office every day with my presence has been just something as a managing broker that's been helpful. We have staff here that and a light staff, but it's been helpful just to, there's some keeping the troops encouraged and moving forward. That's part of the job perhaps in that. But for me, for strategies, from a strategy standpoint, it's been a little bit more about adopting a new mindset. I think our clients, they're kind of, a lot of them are in this era of, oh, how are you doing? How's everything going? And so for me, from a strategic standpoint, I just want to be an encouragement to them. And we're going to get through this, and having kind of a new mindset that, hey, we're going to be on the other side of this, looking back at what an amazing story we endured. And so kind of being that rock for our client has been the strategic, I guess, just mindset I've been, trying to consciously carry with me day to day.
Yeah, well, you have to be a little resilient in this job, I think, in order to roll with the punches. Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, I like Eric, we've checked in, made it a point to check in on clients just to say, hey, hope you're doing okay. If something comes up and you need help with looking at your lease or what your options are, let's get on the phone and talk about it. But most of our clients are kind of in a wait and see mode, and so I've been able to work from home. I teach preschool in the mornings, try to, and then as they rest, hopefully, which always doesn't happen, I'm able to work in the afternoons. So, it works. It's not what I want as a long-term solution, but for the last month and hopefully a few weeks to come, it works just fine.
Yeah, the teacher part's hard. I mean, middle school teacher over here. Okay, so if you're working in the field, what cleaning protocols or precautions are being taken? Anything? Bob?
Well, in our trailer parks, we've gone to an everyday cleaning of the laundromats and the offices and the public areas, and just kind of making sure that we've got information out to all of our tenants, how to be aware and what's going on about the stimulus money, how to get it. So we've been kind of educating everybody through the common parts of our business. Right. In residential, it's all been virtual, or they go by themselves, so we're not interacting with them. Yeah. And commercial, we're on job sites, so we're just staying our distance out, walking around, looking at construction and digging holes and things like that. But we're still going, so that's what we're doing.
Luke, go ahead.
We've had some clients. There's a service. I'm sure there's a few companies doing it that can come in and spray your space to disinfect it. And so we've had some clients do that to kind of better some businesses are still having people come in, even if it's less, and so they're taking extra precautions that way, in addition to hand sanitize, all the cleaning, typical cleaning or extra cleaning. But the service of getting it sprayed like that, I think it disinfects, but also gives the employees a peace of mind that their management, whether it be management or their company management's taking extra steps to keep them safe. So we've found that to be pretty useful.
Yeah. Like my office is at White Station Tower, so they've been putting signs up, like that they're coming through and cleaning more. And obviously the dog wanted to be part of this conversation. So, okay. So TREC Forms Committee has developed a COVID-19 amendment for residential. Do y'all think there's a need for a commercial form addressing the same? Eric?
So, having been on the commercial forms committee for Tennessee Realtors, I think that the amendment that they've put out for on the residential side seems to be very neutral, could be adapted for commercial, giving an option to extend deadlines in a contract if there's a COVID related issue that comes up that can't be handled. And so my thought would be to let the commercial forms committee for Tennessee Realtors take the lead on evaluating that and weighing that. It's a great group and a great body that we have that fashions those forms.
Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Kathy, go ahead.
Well, only that I reviewed the form, and it was very broad and, encompassed all the things that we probably are using now just to create our own amendments. So it makes sense. Could we use something like that? Sure. I think we probably already are in some form or another. We're having to adapt, but looked good.
Yeah. Okay. Bob, go ahead.
Well, in our contracts, a lot of times in the land side and what commercial stuff that I do, we don't like a lot of amendments. We like to keep everything in one contract. So we haven't been adding anything unless it comes up during the discussions, and there's always changes as we go along, somebody renegotiating something. So I haven't used a separate addendum on anything.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes is a case by case basis too. So how is rent coming in on retails, restaurants, and office? Are you responding to how are you responding to tenants who are struggling to pay or unable to pay rent? Kathy?
Stories from different people, clients that I'm working with. One is more multifamily. So April 1st was a real important deadline for a lot of people because that was the first time when rents were due. In his business, he had everybody pay except one who was laid off. Now that happens to be under contract with buyers, and I think the mindset is from the buyer's point of view, well, okay, that's step one. Let's see how May goes, looking towards that just to see how the trend continues. I also spoke to another gentleman who his business is one of those that's non-essential. So it's shut down, and he still has a note to his lender, but his lender was very proactive, just gave him a call and said, look, why don't we just defer 3 months payment and add it on to the end? So I'm seeing a real spirit of cooperation out there. The gist that I get is that everybody seems to be working together and to come up with solutions, and oftentimes they don't even have to ask. I haven't heard a story yet of a landlord being unreasonable. Now maybe my other professionals can chime in. So that's kind of what I'm hearing in the field.
Eric, did you have something to add?
So the CCIM organization, fortunately, has taken they've really gone to great lengths to put out guidance on here are all the options, and even have a webinar posted online that's free that you can look up and listen to a panel similar to this deal with the A to Z, soup to nuts on the whole issue of rent and struggling tenants. I've had several calls from tenants, and I think that here we are talking to a group of our colleagues in Memphis who deal with similar things. And what I believe that we can do, a best practice perhaps, is to encourage these tenants that are struggling to say, hey, I don't know of a landlord out there that doesn't want happy tenants and successful tenants. And I think all landlords share the fact that, hey, if their tenants aren't successful, they know that that's not good for their property. And so we want to send the message that we as professionals want to do everything we can to help. And we know that our landlords are in the same, are going to share that opinion. How that flushes itself out. There's a great white paper, if you have a chance to go to the CCIM website, that is just, hey, here's a bunch of good looking options that you can discuss with your tenants. And then there's also a section, if you're a tenant, here's a bunch of good looking ways that you can perhaps address this and bring up the conversation with your landlord.
Bob?
Well, I've taken an approach of calling people that own and operate, that we all share information all the time. And we talked about our rents coming in before the first and where we thought we'd be. And so far, everybody's been on target. They've actually been ahead of their schedule on by the 6th, 7th day of the month. 75, 78% of their rents come in, and that's kind of typical on what I'm doing and what the other people. And I'm talking about 3,000 plus units that I've discussed with. So seems to be this month's okay from that point of view. What happens next month may be the key. We don't know that, and hopefully we'll open up some business between now and then. But restaurant side, 50% rent put back in a note. We had one restaurant that we operate came to us immediately and said, I need rent abatement. It was a new restaurant that just went in. And so we said, they wanted 3 months. We said, we'll give you a month at a time, depending on how it opens up. And we'll put it on a note after we get back to work and spread it out over 12 months. And they were fine. And a lot of people around town have taken that approach and went to their tenants before they even asked and said, we'll give you 50% rent abatement. We'll put it on a note. We'll put it on the back of the rent. We'll discuss it as we get through it, but we'll take care of you. And that kind of took a lot of pressure off a lot of people across town. And that help attitude that Kathy was talking about, and everybody keeps talking about helping people. A lot of them are concerned about how to get the loans and what do we do with that. And so it's just being the information source. But I think we're in good shape.
Luke?
Have y'all seen any particular structure that tenants seem to prefer, whether it's abate 3 months and then extend the lease 3 months, or it's abate 3 months and then amortize that over 9 or 12 months? Is there any structure that tenants prefer, or you just kind of, it's unique to each company?
I think it's unique to each company, really. I don't think it's any one, because everybody's got a different situation. When's their lease end? Is it short term? Are they thinking about moving? There's a lot of things that go into that, but so I think it's individual.
Agree.
Eric?
One thing that is the tendency, I think, of human nature when there's a problem is to sometimes to kind of go into our corner, withdraw, and go quiet. And for tenants that we're talking to is, hey, I'm so glad that we can have this conversation, because communication is the key. If you're struggling, or if you want to, let's get a conversation going and keep it going. And so just communicate.
Yeah, communication is key all around. And then, when you look at how, like you said, Bob, how well people work together in a time of tragedy like this, it really is uplifting and ensuring that, hey, we are going to get through this together. It's going to be okay. And I think we need those kind of reassurances. Let's see. Okay, so how are you dealing with broker price opinions and market analysis right now? Kathy?
That's a tough one, because we're looking at properties, and for an instance where we're dealing with an income-based property, we're sort of looking in that crystal ball. Do we price something based on what it is now, or are we making projections on what we think might happen 1 month from now, 2 months, 3 months? It's really difficult. I think it's teamwork. So it's really kind of talking to that client and, what are their expectations? What's the timeline involved? Because you're going to have some kind of give and take from them, so you kind of know where to begin. But I think it's a challenge. And, we can price it. there's a theory, well, we price it as it is now, and then, as we say in the business, let the market speak. Let's see what happens when that rolls out. So that might be just the way to go.
Yeah. Anyone else?
So I think Kathy's on track, letting the market speak. We have deals are still happening, and people are still needing their property sold and leased, and needing broker opinions on values and lease rates. And I think disclaiming that, just keep in mind, these are pre-March 2020 values largely that we're looking at. And we don't know the impact, and we don't know the sales cycle length that this is the turn this is going to take. But to be fair to your property, we shouldn't try to guess a downturn, because, hey, this is a very resilient market. We've had a booming market, and Memphis is super strong for a ton of reasons. And to project a downturn is not going to be fair to the property. And so, yeah, like Kathy said, letting the market speak, but let's move forward.
Luke?
I think from a tenant representation perspective, so kind of the other side of the coin, we've had some clients that are coming up against lease expirations in the next 6 or 12 months, kind of asking, is there an opportunity to take advantage of it or not? And I think, if they're willing to do a long-term commitment, you probably can get some pretty good rent relief, and, a landlord locking up or securing their building at this time with a long-term lease is advantageous. But most of our clients in this environment don't want to do that. And so they've asked the question, well, what will it look like in 6 or 12 months when, when this thing is hopefully over? And, we've taken some guesses at it, but I don't think, my guess is that rents may decrease, office or industrial rents may decrease some, but I don't think the bottom's going to fall out of it. So yeah, I don't know that we're long enough into this to really understand kind of the implications in 6 or 12 months, but you can certainly take a guess.
Bob?
Well, I had this interesting meeting yesterday and the day before on a farm that, very nice farm, high quality. And their question was, I know what it's worth today. What's it worth in 2 months when everybody comes back in the market looking for places to put money? And this has a unique situation where it's an excellent return on a long-term lease on this farm. And they're trying to figure out how much it's going to go up, not go down, because of all the money sitting on the sidelines now that's going to want to invest. So it's a different market depending on what product you're talking about. In residential, we're not changing our prices. We're steadily putting concrete in the ground and going up with them. And if you're 5 months out, we should be back to normal by then. We don't think the price is going to change. And land has a tendency to go up when the rest of the markets are stressed. So just depends on where you're at.
So we do have a Q&A question, which is in line with broker opinions, which is a question from maybe someone that doesn't understand or know, but maybe someone could answer. How do you charge for a broker opinion of value by hour? What do you include in your report? Is that something anyone's able to give us insight on? Bob?
I don't charge for them. I look at it from the standpoint, in this type of environment, you're helping people figure out what they're trying to work through. Mm-hmm. I think that's that health side, that people are trying to really have somebody they can depend on to say, give me the facts and I'll figure out what I'm going to do. So I don't charge for it.
It's like when residential, you're going on a listing appointment, you're not charging for a listing appointment, you're trying to get the listing, and then you charge commission that way. But yeah. Okay, so a follow-up question. If any, what fallout, if any, are you experiencing from existing agreements? Kathy?
We were right in the middle of just a lease negotiation with someone when this all came out. So the tenant, got cold feet, but the landlord stepped right in and said, look, we're going to be creative with this. So you sign the lease, you commit to us, we're going to commit to you, and we're going to give you time, and you're not going to have to put down any money, any rent until after the government clears everybody, about 2 weeks after that. We're going to lock down the space is yours, and you can use it now, get it ready. So that gave this tenant the comfort level to go ahead, sign the lease and move forward. So it was just another good sign that we are all in the spirit of cooperation, and we're just going to have to see how this unfolds. Other than that, just really basic extensions on, because of the timing. If we just knew, how it would pan out. But for now, we're doing the 30-day at a time, like Bob's talking about with most people on closings and things like that. But that's kind of it.
Anyone else? Luke, sorry.
Yeah, so we've had a few clients looking to purchase, and if it's essential to their business, they've just trudged on and kept going. They might have asked for a 30-day extension to let dust settle. If it's non-essential, if it was just kind of a strategic play or something, most of them have either asked for 30, 60, 90-day extensions or just press the pause button.
Right.
And on the lease side, groups that are up against an expiration and have to do something have trudged on and kept moving. But groups that, were just kind of exploring or, didn't have to move or comfortable, maybe they're just staying put for signing a 12-month extension at their current rate or just kind of hitting the pause button. So it really depends on, for me, on the tenant rep side, kind of what the immediate need is, if the project is going to on-go or if it's going to be press pause.
So I did have another question here, which is kind of, we probably hit on, but I'm just going to throw it out there. And Bob, I know you have a comment you want to make. Are purchasers having second thoughts? I think that they kind of answered some of that, but I'm going to let you answer, Bob, but any additions to that? Well?
That's what I was going to say. We haven't had anybody to back off from their standard agreements. They're moving ahead to closings. They're doing their due diligence. So we haven't had anybody back off. I think it depends on the market you're in again. It seems like industrial and then land and housing is all just keeping going forward. Maybe some of the others aren't, but that's my opinion of it. I think they're not stopping.
Mm-hmm. Eric?
So the developers that we're working with typically have all had a kind of a long range, and I guess this ties into more of a developer idea, but financing that has been in place on a commercial project, I'm thinking specifically of developments, have been in place for a while with a long range vision. And so I share Bob's thoughts there that we haven't seen any developers pull back just simply because it's a longer outlook. The financing's already in place.
So I have another question, which I think we've answered, but I'm going to throw it out there because I just saw it. Have you had any sales contracts stop from closing because of the COVID-19 pandemic? And if you did have this happen, how did you deal with it? I feel like we've answered that, but if is there anything else to add to that? No? Okay. I just want to make sure I'm hitting all the questions as they come in too. So Eric, you mentioned developers. That leads me into my next question. What are developers and builders doing and how have they changed? Bob?
We haven't changed anything. We actually started a building last Wednesday, and you could see it out the window. We're pouring foundations right now, and we're moving forward. It's a spec building, so we're 6 months out before we're even going to put anybody in it. Our other developments, we have not slowed down any. The financing, as Eric said, this is long-term stuff. We're thinking long-term. We're not short-term. Building houses are 5-6 months out before they're going to be ready. Any building you're starting now is anywhere from 6 months to 2 years before they're going to be ready. So we're not changing anything. We think the economy is going to come back roaring once we get out of this. There's I think there'll be demand for it. So we're not making any rash changes or being scared about anything. We think it will be fine.
Anyone else have anything to add? Okay, so so do you think office strategy will change as a result of the pandemic? Will companies consider reducing their square footage and allow more people to work from home? And will this change the big concept of big open workspaces due to the fear of easy transmit of germs. Kathy?
Well, the people like me who are just itching to get back to the office. I mean, when they ring that bell, I'm going to be in the streets hugging strangers. So I'll be right back at it. But I do think realistically, as I've talked to, and I'm talking to my clients all the time, there are people that, and rightfully so, who are going to be more apprehensive about coming back into public spaces. And I have heard people say, well, I'm not going to go to a restaurant or a movie theater for 6 months and all. I'm thinking, really? I'm going to be down at the Orpheum on day one. But I think we may see that, especially in groups that are more vulnerable, those that still feel like the virus might affect them more than others. And will that affect office strategy? It might. I was meeting with some clients the other day who mentioned that in looking at new space, and they said, well, you know, people are working virtually, and that's been a trend already in place. So will this add to it? I think it might. It's not going to change the work spirit, but I think that office footprint might continue to be a bit smaller.
Luke?
I think it'll be a case by case, company by company basis. I think we'll do a month or two of this, and companies will see if they think they can work wholly or portions of their business remotely. And some will say that it works, and they'll, you know, they use this as a test run, and they'll equip up with proper technology to make it happen. And I think other businesses will say this was terrible for us. You know, and so I think it's just, you know, company to company. And I think as far as how you lay out your space, you know, for years we've been pushing this more density in our offices, right. Which means more people on top of more people. I'm curious if companies will slow that down a little bit and, you know, put the square footage per person, you know, start ramping that back up a little bit. Maybe it's more private offices, you know, who knows? But I do think there will be some sort of lasting fear of this. And I think companies will start to think about, what is our plan if this comes back in the fall? You know, how, you know, so we're ready to, if people need to work from home again, or, you know, are we ready to do it? I think there'll be a lot of contingencies. You know, companies after the recession in 08, you know, started making contingencies. They strategized differently. I think you'll see companies strategize differently for an outbreak like this, so they don't miss, you know, so the water just doesn't turn off for the business.
Yeah. Bob, did I see your hand up? Yeah, go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see what happens to the WeWorks models and things like that as to what that does for this. I know they're having some problems right now, and I think they were having them before we actually got to this, to be honest with you. So I think Luke is right. It's going to be interesting to see how this turns out in the long run.
I mean, from a residential standpoint, I think that a lot of agents are going to start doing more things that maybe not going in as much, kind of changing the way we do business in a positive way. That could be good, but it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds, that's for sure. So are there any other trends you're seeing? Luke?
Well, I think companies will start to see things that they liked, that they use, like these Zoom meetings, and, you know, that they were too fearful to maybe try at a full scale. You know, so I think as this kind of quarantine goes on and companies say, hey, this Zoom really works, or it doesn't work. But I think you'll see more virtual stuff. I think people are touring buildings virtually, which I haven't done it yet, so I'm not sure how well it works. But, you know, in theory, that could save on travel, that could save on, you know, a lot of things like that. So I think as the longer this goes and people continue to evolve in how they're handling it, I think some of them will stay around. You know, you think about the restaurant business, and, you know, I've seen articles about the future of restaurant business, future of movie theaters. You know, will people get accustomed to, and even sports, you know, not go into games, you know. I'm curious what the long-lasting kind of mental effect of public space will be. But I do think there will be some things that people do continue after this is over.
Bob?
I think you'll see a major trend in our associations and how they do business with their members. I mean, you look at how many people we've got on here today that are looking at what we're doing, and you think about committee work, you think about, you know, traveling people across the country to do things. Yeah, we like to be in person, we like to see everybody, but I think you're going to see a trend to more Zoom meetings and different platforms that are set in place to save associations money and membership money by realizing what we can do with Zoom meetings like this and have real discussions. And so different from a conference call. Totally different from a
Oh
conference.
yeah. And you know, our association, I'm just so proud of the work they've done so far. When we've gotten CE approved to where we're going to be able to do that through Trek, that's going to be awesome. And then just the things that we've been able to do so far, you're absolutely right. So it's really exciting that things have been able to been pushed into the forefront that maybe wouldn't have otherwise. But so anyone else have any trends they want to comment on? Oh, Bob, go ahead. Sorry.
Just quick. I think you're going to get back to, once this changes, you're going to get back to a high touch with your clients. You're going to be more hands-on with your clients, whether it's through Zoom meetings or in person. I think there's going to be a lot more contact and
Interesting choice of words. Hands-on, contact.
Yeah. You know, like they said, we can't shake hands anymore. I don't think that's going to go away. The people have always looked somebody in the eyes and shake hands with your customer and client, and I think that's going to come back, even though it's not acceptable right now. But you know, the customer relationship really is going to show up through this, I believe, when we come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so where do you see opportunities in the next 12 months? Kathy?
I think there's going to be a lot of pent up demand.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be for purchases, that's going to be for lease space, everything. And probably one of the best things we can do would be alert, stay in touch with the clients. And you know, with every bad thing comes good things and just change. But I have seen, you know, with this happening, that some retailers who may have been on the brink of closing before the virus, this may have just sped up their decision to list the properties, and maybe that would be more than one location. I think we're going to see some more boxes come up for sale and a little bit more space, but we're going to have people ready to fill that, you know, as the months go on. So I think we do have a lot of opportunities out there to get some of these spaces filled and sold.
Eric?
Yeah, I think that our clients need our help. I guess let me back up. I just reminding myself that we're talking to a body of real estate professionals, like putting our broker hat on, keeping it on. Our clients need our help now more than ever, and especially as there are changes in markets and things like that. And so and I think from a landlord standpoint, that our landlords need our help more than ever, keeping their properties attractive to attract the maximum number of tenants, and tenants need our help more than ever to negotiate changes that they're experiencing. And so I see our role as commercial real estate practitioners being kicked up a notch through this whole thing, that they're, from an opportunity perspective, it is going, I believe it's going to abound with opportunity, that because I see our role being so important for our clients to protect them and to maximize their exposure in the market, and et cetera. And so I see just tons of opportunities to help people.
So real quick, before I hit to you, Luke, that's kind, you know, Eric, you just kind of touched on this question that we have in the queue also. Where do you see the commercial real estate practitioner career going in the future? So maybe if anyone wants to pitch in on that, as well as answering the question, where do you see opportunities in the next 12 months? Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think there's a big opportunity for both buyers and sellers, or landlords or tenants, if you're just willing to be flexible for the next, 12 months. Because, from a leasing perspective, groups may be cautious, and landlords are going to be wanting, if they're willing to be flexible to work with a group. I'm just thinking from my typical work, we go and look at an office building and we select 3, kind of finalists, and then start getting proposals. And I think if you show some goodwill as a landlord and just be flexible and say, you know, I know there's been a lot of unknown and there's unknown in the future, as opposed to just trying to, you know, hammer out the same deal you always hammer out. You know, there'll be a lot of goodwill with tenants or buyers if there's, you know, if a seller is say, hey, I'll give you an extra 30 days, you know, as opposed to terminating the contract. I think that'll, you know, just huge opportunity on both sides in the next 12 months if we can just understand where we've been and that we're hopefully going to come out of this, and that we'll be we just work together patiently and, you know, with goodwill in mind that it all get done.
Bob?
I think Luke is exactly right on that. You have so many opportunities to build your business to a different level by being the person that helps whoever it is, the buyer, the tenant, the rep, you know, whoever needs help. A lot of people are searching right now for where they're headed, what they're going to do, where they're going to be in 6 months from now. And if you're the person that's the source of the information and the source of help, and you're the calming voice in the room that says, well, let's just talk about it and figure out where you want to go, I think you can build your business to a different level, and the confidence level in your customers and clients is just, you can't do any better than doing that. You become their friend. You know, right now I call a lot of people and say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Some people call me the same way. Hey, you okay? You know, we're on the different side of the coin this time. In 2008, we were the ones that were broke, trying to figure out what the hell we were going to do tomorrow, what the banks were going to do to us, what everybody was going to do to us, because we were the ones in the problem. This time we're not. We're on the opposite side of the coin. So we learned the hard way. We learned how it feels to be treated the way we were in 2008. And I think that's a guiding place for us to go in our business, is to take the high road, be the person that goes and helps. You don't have to charge everybody for everything, because it'll come back to you.
I agree. Anyone else have anything to add? So we're getting into our last question here. What advice do you have for our listeners, and what are you doing to stay positive and relieve stress? Eric?
So a couple things. One, and this is the same advice for my kids. You're watching, no, but to better yourself. You know, we're in a season of time when what an amazing opportunity to better ourselves as professionals, and including reading books. Can I do 2 book recommendations?
Yes,
To our
great.
real estate, to our commercial real estate friends out there.
Yeah, the commercial real estate.
So one of them is called Thrive by Blaine Strickland, 10 prescriptions for exceptional performance as a commercial real estate agent. Great read, and it's really short. It's pretty thin. Get through that in an afternoon. Secondly, so I love interviews, and there's probably people even on this call that are commercial real estate brokers that I've sent emails to before to say, hey, can I ask you 5 survey questions, and so I can put together this little survey? Well, this is a survey of 5 uber crazy successful commercial real estate brokers, and it's a very fun read just to see 5 different approaches to our business and how they've done what they've done, and some of it's pretty mind-boggling. And lastly, action. And this was a quote I found recently that I just love. Action is the enemy of anxiety, and so staying active and just hammer down. This is the time to not pull back and stay in touch with our clients. And then lastly, staying visible. You know, whether it's like Bob said, contacting your clients, or just maintaining your presence online, and especially social media. Selfie.
I jumped right in on that one. Great point, Eric. Anyone else? What advice do you have for listeners? Kathy?
I think, you know, this is a great time to get organized. And really, when you drive down to what our business is all about, it's about being of service to our clients. It's not about us, it's about them. So I have advice number 1, listen. This is a great time when your clients are more chatty than usual. You'd be surprised how much they reveal and how much you can learn about how you can help them. So I've really done a lot of that and stayed in touch with them, and it just helps clean up your sphere, get your contacts in order and all of that, and be creative, think out of the box. If you're talking to somebody who is just plain scared of the virus, and that's going to heal itself over time. But if you're here talking to somebody with something imminent that needs to happen, then you need to work on a plan with them right then and how to solve that, whether that's leasing space, selling a property. So there are opportunities. It just starts with listen, be out there. As far as coping, we all have our own little
way of dealing with this.
to each his own.
Not stirred.
Just walk.
That's good. I love it. And my favorite quote about listening is that we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen twice as much as we talk. So I haven't learned that one very well. I talk a lot, but working on it. Anyone else, Luke?
I think it's just important to know yourself and kind of what you need and don't need. Like I said earlier, I'm teaching in the mornings and trying to work in the afternoon. So my brain just is spinning more than it really has ever spun. And so I've made it a point to make sure I have some sort of quiet alone time. And that's just how my personality needs. Because I think just as we're living day to day like we are, it's super easy just to totally get caught up in everything of the day and the stresses and the worries, but to kind of try to get rid of that. And for me, it's just having, after everybody's gone to bed, an hour or something of just kind of, whether it's reading a book or watching a movie, just to relax. We're now up to about 2 walks a day with my kids. We started at 1. For some reason, we decided to get a puppy next week, so that'll be adding more stress to everything. So if Kathy could ship me over one of those drinks, I'd be appreciative.
She's got you covered. Bob?
Well, as I said, we're on the different side of the coin now. I remember 2008 and 9 and 10 very, very well. And I guess I wrote down some things. And first thing I would tell everybody, don't follow the herd. Herd doesn't always go the right direction. Make your own trail. Follow the money. The money's going to tell you where the opportunities are. Just watch where money's going. I'm not talking about the stock market. I'm talking about money out investing in the markets and what's moving and what's not. Everybody kind of has said this already. Change your perspective. Sitting worrying doesn't do you any good. Get up and go to work. Figure out something to do. Go help somebody. It makes your brain work. It makes you change your attitude toward things. Become the source of the information. Help the people that are around you. If you can find information for them and help them, that's going to come back to you. Solve their problems. You don't have to charge them for it, but just solve their problems for them. I've had a lot of people calling about the loans and everything like that. And with our involvement with NAR, I'm on the front lines of discussions about these things, and I've helped a lot of people that I don't even know. People call me and said, I heard you knew about this, and just send them information and be that source of information. And the business will come back to you. Don't get scared. Don't live scared. Don't be scared of this virus. Don't be scared of your work. Don't be scared of being broke or being rich or anything like that. Just be sound in your mind and make your decisions and keep going. Get up and go to work every day. Realize what you got to do. If you sit around and think about stuff, you just worry about it. So if you find yourself sitting there looking at a computer going, what the hell am I going to do? Get up and leave. Go outside. Go do something. Go find something to do. Get in the car and drive. And we'll all be fine. It'll work out good.
Great information. Absolutely, Bob. I love that. So this brings us to the end of our little webinar here. I really appreciate all of you taking time out of your day to participate in this. It's such great information, and I'm just really honored to be a part of it. Katie, I'll kick it back to you. I know you got some stuff to wrap up here.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, and thank all of you so much. That was really great, and I loved everything at the end was really inspiring, especially that cocktail. So looking forward to 5 o'clock. But as I said, this was the second in a series of webinars that we put together for you guys each Thursday. So we hope that it'll keep you feeling connected confident, and committed to the industry that we all love. So tune in each Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Look for the registration info in the Weekly Realtor, mar.org, and social media. For our commercial brokers out there, we want you to know that although the Pinnacle Awards event has been rescheduled for August 6th, we are still releasing the Memphis Business Journal special section on the Pinnacle Awards later this month. So look for that. You'll get to see all the award winners, and hopefully it'll make you feel a little more connected to your CRE community during this virtual time that we're all kind of living in and experiencing right now. I also wanted to mention, Bob alluded to it a little bit, but there are, as you guys have heard, hopefully, through the CARES Act, there are loans available through the Small Business Administration and just other loans that have been either made available or expanded to make it available to different subsets of people, including independent contractors, which all residential realtors really are, and that will really apply to you guys right now. So the PPP, the EIDL, SBA, it's all a little bit of alphabet soup, but there are some really good resources on the NAR website. So if you go to nar.realtor/coronavirus or the Small Business Administration website, you can find out more information about those and what might be applicable to your situation. Or, as Bob said, it's also really good information to share with your business clients and tenants, and really kind of shows your value as a realtor and just as a good human being. So wanted to share that with you guys. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any of the staff at MAR, and we can help point you in the right direction too. So I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy out there. We sure miss seeing you at the office, but we enjoy being with you guys like this. So thanks for participating. And thanks again to the panelists and to Catherine for doing this for us today. We really appreciate it.
Yay!
Cheers. So we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.